Good to go?
Allah Azza. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala Nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. طيب يا إخوان وأخواتي, did everybody bring back the papers that they had from last week? Those who had the papers? Mumtaz. And of course we started the Muslim Creed Expounded last week. And before we continue from where we left off, we'll just recap really quickly. First of all, the introduction, there were two main objectives of the introduction. Who remembers the two main objectives of the introduction? What were the two main objectives? تفضل عمر.
One of them was that the Prophet emphasized.
No, hold on to that because you're going to need that later. But just the overall objectives. What was the main two things, or what were the main two things of the introduction, which we were studying, and we got about halfway through it? Two main things that the introduction was trying to impart. Huh? No. What you're using right now, you're going to need it for the question that's going to come after that. But right now, there were two things that the introduction wanted to present, wanted to deal with, wanted to address. And we mentioned those. And then we started breaking them down, or breaking one of them down into individual ones, which you're mentioning one of the individual.
Oh, the creed?
Okay, what about the creed? There were two things about the creed that the introduction wanted to impart. Okay, now remember, all right, let me help you guys out. Because basically you have two main things, and under that two things you have one of the things that Omar mentioned, one of the things that the sister mentioned. But what's the heading? What Omar just said and what the sister just said, what would be the heading for that? What would be the heading for that? If you wanted to put a heading for all those things. Okay, but what about the Aqidah? When we say, for example, it's the base of Islam, it's this, all of that points to what?
Is it the Quran and Sunnah and the...
Okay, that's another heading. So the Quran, Sunnah, and the explanation or the interpretation of the Sahaba falls in a different heading. Those two headings were the main two objectives of the introduction. What the introduction wants to impart. Huh? Okay, to have a clear idea what. So basically.
This clarification of the Aqidah.
Okay, so the whole book is going to clarify the Aqidah, but the introduction wants to clarify what about the Aqidah. Say it again, sister. Yes. Yeah. You said it. Say it again. The importance. So one of the main objectives of the introduction is to clarify the importance. Why do we even study? Why do we even bother? Okay? But before that, before the creed started, or the introduction started giving us what? Specific points, which Omar mentioned one, and the sister mentioned one, another sister mentioned another one. Before start mentioning the specific points, why the creed is important. 1, 2, 3. Before that, there was another objective that the creed hit on, and the sister here pointed to that. She said Quran, Sunnah. So what heading would you put that under? Quran, Sunnah, and the interpretation of its companions is what? What is that? Masadir al-Aqidah. The sources of the belief. So the introduction wants to impart two things. It wants to impart, what are the sources? O Muslim, from where do you draw your belief? Do you draw it from dreams? Do you draw it from the culture of your people? Do you draw it from scholars? Just a scholar said so that's what it is. Or do you have specific masadir, specific sources from which you draw your aqidah? We have specific sources. Sah? We have specific sources. And those sources are primarily, 3. And they are the Quran, the Sunnah, and the understanding, interpretation of Ashab Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Mumtaz. Tayyib. Now, let's stick with that first. So we have two headings, sources of the Aqidah. Second heading, the importance of the Aqidah. Let's go to the heading number 1. We mentioned 3 masadir, 3 sources. What's the proof that the Quran is a source for the Aqidah? O Muslim, You tell me that the Quran is a source, prove it to me.
Divine revelation.
Okay, it's divine revelation, okay, but that doesn't mean we get Aqidah from it. A person could argue. What does the Quran tell us to show us it's a masdar? It is a source. We should turn to it. Huh? طيب, Kalam Allah mumtaz. Divine revelation mumtaz. But what does Kalam Allah say to tell us, hey, وَنَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ تِبْيَانًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ. Surah An-Nahl, the 16th surah, verse 89. وَنَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ تِبْيَانًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ. And we revealed to you the book, a clarification for all things. If it's a clarification for all things, that includes what? Includes the creed. It includes the creed. So the Quran clarifies the creed. It's a masdar for the creed. Got it? Next week I'm going to ask you again. If you don't know the answer, I'm going to walk out. Yes, I'm going to walk out. Because you have to, Muslim, somebody asks you, you say, I get my creed from the Quran. Like, prove it to me. Why? We need to know why. We have to know why. وَنَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ تِبْيَانًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ. And if it's a tibyan for everything, then it includes the creed, Aqidah. Mumtaz. طيب, so you said the Quran is a masdar. طيب, Sunnah is a masdar. Is it a source?
Yes.
طيب, dalil. What's the dalil? Huh? Okay, not yet. You're going to need the Habibullah, but not yet. Say that. Okay. فَإِن تَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ فَرُدُّوهُ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. That's Surah An-Nisa, the 4th surah, verse 59, if I'm not mistaken. So Allah says, and if you differ in any matter, then take it back to Allah and the messenger. So He made the messenger a source, a resource. Whenever we're confused about something, whenever something's not clear, we should go back to Him. And He says, if you differ in what? In any matter, which includes the creed. Includes the creed. Everything including what? The creed. Okay, so that's one ayah. Somebody says, Muslim, you say that the Sunnah is a source. What's the proof? You say what? Surah number 4, verse 59. فَإِن تَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ فَرُدُّوهُ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. طيب, another verse, you can just add to that. 59:7. What does 59:7 say? Ya ukht? Alright, 59:7. Like 59:7 is the verse in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا آتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوهُ وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا. Whatever the Messenger of Allah gives you, which includes what? The creed. Take it. And whatever He tells you to, whatever He withholds from you, then what? Or whatever He prohibits you, then refrain from it. Alright, so we got the Quran, the Sunnah. What about the interpretations of the companions? We say we turn to them, and the way that they understood the deen is right, and it's the way we should understand it. But we need proof. We need dalil. Surah 9, 100, Surah Tawbah, verse number 100, and that's the verse in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَالسَّابِقُونَ الْأَوَّلُونَ مِنَ الْمُهَاجِرِينَ وَالْأَنصَارِ وَالَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُم بِإِحْسَانٍ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says that the first and foremost to accept Islam from the migrants, meaning the people who made hijrah, they left Mecca and went to Al-Madinah, wal-Ansar, the people who were in Al-Madinah and they received them. He says, وَالَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُم بِإِحْسَانٍ, and those who follow them in righteousness. رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ. Allah is pleased with them and they are pleased with who? With Allah. Now if you notice in this ayah, what's amazing about this ayah, or interesting or significant about the ayah, is that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the companions and His pleasure, He didn't mention what? Aqeed. He didn't mention any specific quality or action that they had to what? Perform in order to what? Get His pleasure, that He's pleased with them. But the people who come after them, including you and I, in order for Him to be pleased with us, He said what? وَالَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُم بِإِحْسَانٍ, and those who follow them in righteousness. We have to follow the companions in order for our aqidah, for our creed to be what? Accepted. Wa alaikum salam. So that's one ayah, 9-100. That Allah made it a condition for us to be accepted, for our creed to be accepted, our deeds to be accepted, for Him to be pleased with us, is that we follow them what? In righteousness. We follow them. And that includes what? Their creed. Okay, is there another verse that we gave? Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number kam? 137. And that's where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, فَإِنْ آمَنُوا بِمِثْلِ مَا آمَنْتُمْ بِهِ فَقَدْ اهْتَدَوْا فَإِنْ آمَنُوا بِمِثْلِ مَا آمَنْتُمْ بِهِ فَقَدْ اهْتَدَوْا. And if they believe as you all believe. And when Allah said, if they believe as you all believe, this address is being made to who? The Prophet Muhammad and his companions. So if those other people who come after you, if they believe the way you believe, فَقَدْ اهْتَدَوْا, then they are guided. And the scholars of Islam, they said the opposite meaning is also intended. If they don't believe the way you believe, then they are astray. They are astray. So that tells us that what? The understanding of the companions, the first generation, is what? Is a hujjah. It is what? A mastar for the aqidah. Got it? Got it? So if I ask you next week, you guys get to mow those down, right? You just mow those down. All right, so now we have the proof that the Quran and Sunnah and the understanding of companions are a hujjah. So now we come to another point, is that, do they contradict each other? They can't contradict each other. It's impossible. It's impossible to contradict each other. They're not mutually contradictory. But they rather do what? They complement each other. They don't contradict each other, they complement each other. And can we study any one of them independently of the other?
No.
Can't do it. Can't be done. They need what? They all do what? They complete each other. They complement each other and they complete each other. And so you can't just study the Quran. You can't just take your aqidah from the Quran. You can't just take your aqidah from the Sunnah. But you have to take your aqidah from what? From all three together, in unison. And what's the proof for that? Habibullah, go ahead. You're chomping at the bit. Give it to me. Go ahead. Yeah. Huh?
Yeah, you made me forget it.
Huh?
In the Quran, they say,
Uh-huh. Allah says,
pray to him, but in the Sunnah, but they don't tell you that. In the Sunnah, they tell you.
Jameel. So, as Umar pointed out and Habibullah before him, Allah says, or orders us in the Quran, وَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةِ, establish the prayer. So He orders to establish the prayer, but there's no place in the Quran that clarifies what? How the prayer is to be performed, how it's to be established. In order for us to get that, we get it from where? Sunnah. As the Prophet said, Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli. The Prophet showed us how to pray, and he said, pray as you've seen me pray. So that shows you that what? We can't take the deen, Allah zakhir, Allah zakhir, Allah yadha majrak. So we can't take the deen, and that includes the aqidah, from one of these sources. But we have to take the deen from what? From all of them. They all what? Complete each other and complement each other. Wadih? Mumtaz. Alright, now we come to the second heading. What was the second heading again? First heading was Masadir al-Aqidah, the sources of the creed. Second heading was what? The importance. That the introduction wanted to lay out for us why we should study. Wants to give us some motivation to continue turning these pages and continue to learn our creed. So I want to show you, Muslim, this is why you need to learn this. This is why it's so important. And I think we took 5 last week. Is that not so? We took 5. We're going to complete the rest this week. So give me one. Any one of the brothers. Give me one.
Rejection.
Huh?
Rejection.
Rejection. That basically, if a person doesn't have the right creed, if he doesn't have the right creed, his creed, which is not in accordance with the right creed, will be rejected. وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِي غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَنْ يُقَبَلَ مِنْهُ وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. That whoever desires a religion other than Islam, it will not be accepted from him, and in the hereafter he'll be from the losers. So that makes it important to know the right creed, because if you have the wrong creed, it'll be what? It'll be rejected. Like from the sisters, give me another one. The Prophet emphasized it, stressed it, to the point that they didn't start the prayer until the end of the Meccan period. And all of the other shara'i, all the other laws of Islam, and all the other acts of worship were legislated in where? Al-Madinah. So what was the Prophet doing for the first 10 or 11 years? Teaching the creed. And even then, when he started, when the Shariah started to be revealed, there was still this heightened emphasis on what? On the right creed. To the point that when the Prophet died, what was on his lips? Creed. Still creed, still teaching them Tawheed, teaching them what they're supposed to believe, to the point that when the Prophet was in the throes of death, he would wake up from his stupor and he would say, ألا إن اليهود والنصارى اتخذوا قبور أنبيائهم مساجد لا تتخذوا قبري مسجدا فإني أنهاكم عن ذلك. He said that indeed the Jews and Christians, they used to take the graves, the tombs of their prophets as masajid, places of worship. Don't take my grave as a place of worship, for indeed I prohibit you from that. Okay, so toward the end of his life, still emphasizing what? The creed. So the Prophet emphasized the creed from the beginning to the end, throughout his mission, and to the end of his mission. And so that tells you what? It must be something really important that the Prophet what? He began with it, spent 10 years cultivating it, and then throughout the rest of his mission continued to do what? To remind from time to time and emphasize the importance of the creed. Taib, give me another one, brothers.
Creed can determine alternate bliss or alternate misery.
MashaAllah, good job. Okay, so basically, the key to eternal bliss is right aqidah. And the cause for eternal misery is wrong aqidah. It's having the wrong aqidah, the wrong belief. Mumtaz. Tayyib, two more left from the ones we took last week. Give me another one, sisters.
All messengers were sent with the
Mumtaz, all the messengers were sent with what? Creed. Not a single messenger was sent, except that he was sent with what? A tawheed, and sent with what? The creed. This is the creed, the Islamic belief system. And it was a point of emphasis, to the point Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا. And we sent to every community, every religious nation, a messenger. أَنِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. Proclaiming, worship Allah alone and avoid the false gods. So out of all the things that they proclaimed, the one thing that Allah mentioned that they all proclaimed is what? This creed, this tawheed, right? They all called this what? This creed. So that's 4 out of 5. Missteps in creed will not be what? Will not be forgiven. Missteps in creed, if they reach the level of a shirk, they won't be what? Forgiven. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَغْفِرْ أَن يُشْرَكَ بِهِ وَيَغْفِرُ مَا دُونَ ذَلِكَ لِمَن يَشَاءُ. Allah does not forgive the sin of shirk, associating partners with Him, but He forgives all of the sins to whomever He pleases. So those are 5, really big points, and we're not done yet, that all show us that what? This creed is important. It's something that a Muslim should know. He should know like he knows at the back of his hand. And it should be firmly rooted in his heart. And if he has that, then from there what? The sky's the limit. Tayyib, let's pick it up from where we left off and try to finish at least the introduction, and maybe get started on the definition of faith. So, all right. So if you look on page 9, he says, the final messenger of Allah, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, remained in Mecca for 13 years, calling people to the creed and inviting them to worship Allah alone, without any partners. Then he says, the deteriorating condition of present-day Muslims will not improve until they return to their religion and understand their creed. That's another point. Make that number 6. That basically, the deteriorating condition of the Muslims will not get better. The situation in which we find ourselves will not improve until we return to what? Our religion. And the crux of our religion, the cornerstone of our religion, the foundation of our religion is what? The right creed. And part of our problem, the main problem, which is eating away at what? Eating away at our faith, eating away at the foundation of our ummah, is what? These errors in creed. And we have a lot of evidences which support this, and one of them I'll mention is the hadith collected by Abu Dawood and authority of Ibn Umar. in which the Prophet ﷺ, he said, إِذَا تَبَايَعْتُمْ بِالْعِينَةِ وَأَخَذْتُمْ بِأَذْنَابِ الْبَقَرِ وَرَضِيتُمْ بِالزَّرْعِ وَتَرَكْتُمُ الْجِهَادِ سَلَّطَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكُمْ ذُلًّا وَلَمْ يَنْزِعْهُ عَنْكُمْ حَتَّى تَرْجِعُوا إِلَى دِينِكُمْ. So in this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, he mentions a few things that the Muslims will do, and they'll be indicative of what? Of their deviance. And he mentions these ala sabili mithal. He mentions them as an example, not ala sabil al-hasr, not to say that these are the only things that you'll do, but these are examples of things you will do which indicate your deviance. You're going astray from the deen. So he said, إِذَا تَبَعَيَتُمْ بِالْإِينَةِ, if you engage in transactions that involve interest, but you do it in a way which makes it seem like it's halal, but it's actually haram. Okay? So you know it's wrong, and you try to what? You try to justify it. You try to do something which in your mind makes it seem like, yeah, this is okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Or even worse, you try to make it seem as if it's what? It's halal. Okay? وَأَخَذْتُمْ بِأَذْنَابِ الْبَقَرِ وَرَضِيتُمْ بِالزَّرْعِ, and you take hold of the tails of cows and become pleased with agriculture. And these two things together, as the scholars of Islam have mentioned, they indicate a person becoming what? Overly connected to the dunya, the world. Basically absorbed, lost in what? Love for this world, and trying to collect more and more of its material what? Its material possessions. وَتَرَكْتُمُ الْجِهَادِ, and the Prophet here, he mentioned jihad, but the scholars of Islam, they said this is a mithal, an example, to say that you leave what? You leave al-fara'id. You leave the obligatory things that you're supposed to do. Like the salat, includes the salat, includes what? Giving the zakat, like you're supposed to pay. So al-jihad is an example. Not something specific, but something the Prophet mentioned as an example to refer to what? To لِلْإِشَارَ إِلَى, to allude to what? Al-fara'id, the obligatory duties. You leave your obligations. سَلَّطَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكُمْ ذُلًّا, Allah will cause humiliation to cover you. وَلَا يَنْزِعْهُ عَنْكُمْ, and He will not remove it from you. حَتَّى تَرْجُوا إِلَى دِينِكُمْ, until you return to your religion. And what is the foundation of the religion? The core of the religion. The most important aspect of the religion? The creed. So until the Muslims come back to their creed, and what is an extension of the creed from the obligatory actions that they're supposed to do, and their commitment to faith, all of those things, these problems will continue. And that all starts with what? The creed. The Muslims having the right creed. So that shows you that what the author says is correct, or the compiler says is correct, that our deteriorating condition is there's a correlation between it and what? Our deviation from the creed. And the creed can what? Can make us better as an ummah. But ثم بعد ذلك, he says, sometimes a Muslim, he mentions some alternate words or terms that can be used to refer to the creed. So he says sometimes the Muslim creed is referred to by such names as Tawheed, As-Sunnah, Iman, Usul al-Din. Yes, sister. What's your question? Go ahead. You guys can ask me anything. You can cut me off mid-sentence. Whatever you need, ask me. Don't ask them, because they might not know either. And they might benefit from the question you asked me.
I thought I heard you say something about having interest or something that's haram, and so I was just asking her, so if you have a bank account or if you have a car that is accruing interest, I mean, a lot of stuff has interest on it today.
Yeah, unfortunately, just about everything does.
So you saying that Allah gonna put a dark cloud over us until we remove?
Okay, with respect to interest and dealing in interest, let's, at the end,
Okay.
I'll mention it specifically. I'll deal with that specifically. But the hadith talks about at-tabayu', basically, doing transactions and dealings, buying and selling with a specific type of interest, which basically what you try to do is you try to justify or even legalize the interest, or you try to use at-tahayul, you try to use trickery to make it appear to those who are observing that yeah, this is a league, this is bay'ah, this is just buying and selling. But in reality, it's a buying and selling which involves interest. You're well aware of that, and you're just using this trickery as a method to make it appear as if what? It's a legal transaction, which it's not really legal. Okay? That makes sense? So the Prophet was talking about a specific type of behavior. And the scholars of Islam, they basically said it's when you do something wrong, but you try to, not only do you do the wrong thing, but you try to what? Legalize it or justify it. You follow me? That's why he mentioned specifically al-ina. Because he could have said, إِذَا تَبَيَعْتُمْ بِالرِّبَى, if you buy and sell with interest. No, he said bil-ina.
So going to buy and get some interest is halal, some interest is
Exactly, like basically as if, تفضل Sheikh, تفضل.
no, I'm asking because now you're going to leave the sister.
No, I won't, because I'm going to come back at the end, I promise. I'm going to come back at the end and deal with the whole issue of interest. I just don't want to go away too far away from the creed.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
So specifically what the Prophet was talking about, this hadith or warning against, a lot of these, if you notice, a lot of these are more like they're metaphors. Where the Prophet is mentioning something specifically that's haram, okay, or something that the Muslim should be aware of, but he means by it what? To refer to that thing and other things by extension. So when he mentioned al-ina, he's talking about doing something haram, but you try to what? Make it halal
Okay.
or justify it. When you mention أخذتم بالزرع, I'm sorry, رضيتم بالزرع وأخذتم بأذناب البقر, you take hold of the tails of cows and you become pleased with echo, talking about what? Being pleased with the dunya, and overly enamored and caught up with the dunya and basically chasing after this life of this world. And then when he mentioned jihad, he was talking about
So
tark
everything
al-fara'id.
metaphorical now.
No, everything's not metaphorical. Wallahi, it's not metaphorical. Wallahi, it's not. Because as I said, the Prophet's mentioning these things, which are wrong, but what he means by that, by extension of that, is what? Other things are included in that. So there's a deeper meaning. We shouldn't just get caught up in what? In the surface.
Okay.
Because, yeah, taraktum al-jihad is a problem.
Does not mean jihad fighting the enemy, but mean jihad, you understand, making salah.
Exactly. The fara'id. Hey. All right, so now.
You're not gambling.
This
Okay.
is serious matter.
Okay, طيب, so now.
Where, I don't want to take the subject.
تفضل.
No, I don't want to. Not only between me and you.
Hey, تفضل.
هو أين تجد كلمة جهاد تعني شيء آخر؟
طيب,
But let's complete the creed
Hey.
and we can discuss it later.
hey, sure, but
Jihad.
jihad, there أنواع, الجهاد أنواع. الجهاد أنواع.
But when
Hey.
you say jihad
Hey.
in Quran and Hadith,
Hey.
because there is one jihad
Hey.
is known to be jihad.
No, I wouldn't say that. I
Okay.
wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that رقم واحد.
Okay.
رقم اثنين.
You show me one
Hey.
verse that said jihad and means salah or mean you understand something different.
طيب خلاص أبشر.
اتفقنا.
اتفقنا.
جميل.
طيب. All right, so now.
No, I'm not. He's a sheikh.
No, I'm
He's a
not.
new sheikh.
I'm nothing.
Damn.
I'm nothing. طيب. All right, yeah. All right. So now he mentions that there are other alternative names for the creed. So you'll hear the word aqidah, but another word it's used for the creed is what? Tawheed. Another word is a sunnah. Another word iman, usul ad-din. These are all words which are what? Which are alternative terms to express the same thing, the creed. So if you hear people say, for example, the Sunnah. And for example, there's a lot of books that were written by the early Muslims where they talked about creed, but they called them what? A Sunnah. For example, a Sunnah al-Barbahari, a Sunnah al-Imam Ahmad, Kitab al-Sunnah. So you find this a lot with the early Muslims. When they talked about a Sunnah, they meant what? The creed, right? And the same thing with a Tawheed. So they wouldn't mean just a Tawheed like we were talking about previously, the Tawheed of Allah, but they would mean Tawheed as what? As the belief system of the Muslims. So it wasn't just Tawheed Allah, but it included what? The belief in the angels, and the belief in the books, etc. طيب, Iman, Kitab al-Iman. Okay? And in these books, they would be talking about what? The creed as a whole. Then he goes on, he says, or the compilers, they say, the Muslim creed has some unique features which point to its importance and the necessity to adhere to it. First of all, it is the only way to unify the Muslim ranks and remove their differences. So another important quality, or another feature or point that shows that the creed is important, or the importance of the creed, is that it is something which what? Has the ability to what? Unify the Muslims. And you can just think about that. When you have 10 people in a room, and those 10 people have divergent beliefs. Okay, they have divergent beliefs. And they enter into discussion about those beliefs. What happens? They argue. An argument ensues. Right? And they become what? They become disunited, and there's a lack of harmony and accord. And sometimes it can become very heated. Right? And animosity and tension can what? Can be created, right? But when all those people are like-minded and they share the same ideas and they start to discuss those ideas, there's what? There's harmony, there's accord, there's unity, right? And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the believers not to do what? Not to have these divergent what? Beliefs. Not to have these divergent beliefs and ideas that will cause them to what? Divide, but to be united upon what? Upon the one creed, the one deen that He revealed to them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. He says, hold fast altogether to the rope, O believers, and do not become divided amongst yourselves. What's the rope? The deen. The rope is the deen, the creed, the Islam that Allah revealed to the Prophet ﷺ. So they need to what? Hold fast all to what? Together. وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. And be not divided. تفضل.
Okay, so okay, like, you know, the Quran say for us not to have like little sex or whatever, right? So my question is, why is it like Shiites and Sunnis and all these, and they, you know what I'm saying, when it ain't supposed to be none of that, it's just supposed to be just Muslim, you know what I'm saying, Islam, you know what I'm saying?
Well, let me say this, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what He wants, He has two types of irada, He has two types of wills. He has the universal will that governs everything that happens. So nothing happens in this world except by His will. And then He has what they call al-irada al-shar'iyya, the will of what? Of legislation. Which means what He wants the people to do, what He legislates for them to do, what He prescribes for them to do. And so basically what happens is that sometimes, or all the time, His universal will is going to what? Is going to occur. Whatever He wants to happen in terms of what? The universal will. Whatever He allows to happen, it's going to what? It's going to happen. And then you have what He wants to happen in the sense that what He loves to happen, what He legislates to happen, what He prescribes the believers to do, and that doesn't always what? That doesn't always happen. It doesn't always happen. So Allah loves that we what? Believe and we're what? United. But we don't always do what? Because we have our own will and we have the choice. We don't always what? Follow what Allah wills in terms of what? What He loves and what He prescribes. But at the same time, this couldn't happen except that Allah allowed it. And that's what He points to when He says, وَلَا يَزَالُونَ مُخْتَلِفِينَ إِلَّا مَنْ رَحِمَ رَبُّكَ. So He says, and they will not cease to differ amongst themselves, except those who Allah has shown mercy. So Allah has willed, He's allowed, okay, it to happen, that people, because of their own free will, can do what? Can differ. But He's not pleased with it, and we know this because He said what? إِلَّا مَنْ رَحِمَ رَبُّكَ. Except those to whom your Lord has shown mercy. So He loves that what? We're united, but because we have our own will, and we don't always follow His will in terms of what He loves, then what? Then we become divided. Okay? But the people who remain united, hold fast to that rope, they're the ones who will have His mercy.
Okay. So would I be wrong if somebody asked me what set I'm in? I told them I don't have a set. I'm just Muslim. Or should I supposed to say Sunni?
Well, the problem, if you just say Muslim, then that word Muslim encompasses what? All these sects. And we live in a time where it's necessary where a person what? They kind of specify, they kind of clarify that I'm not from these sects and I follow what? The deen that Allah originally revealed to the Prophet ﷺ and his companions. And how you achieve that, that's up to you. I'm not going to give you a specific term, but you just want to make it clear to whoever you're addressing that that's the deen that I follow. Yeah. Like,
You can say I'm 7-11.
7-Eleven.
The 5 and 6.
All right. So another important point that we mentioned was that it unifies what? The right creed unifies the ranks, right? Unifies the ranks, and we clarified the delil for that. All right, then the compilers, they go on to say that it also links the Muslim directly to who? Allah and His Messenger, so that he will only act. So that he will act only in accordance with their direction. So what does the right creed do? It removes intermediaries. It removes intermediaries. Okay? So you're not basically linked to what? A sheikh. And that sheikh has to dictate to you what to believe, what not to believe. You're not confined to what? To a specific school of thought, a specific sect. But the right creed links you to who? Allah and His Messenger. Right? Allah and His Messenger. So that's another important point, that we don't want to have these intermediaries, because intermediaries tend to do what? Lead people astray. And what sent the people before us astray? Those intermediaries that they created. And them basically raising to the level of what? Divine beings who had a right to what? To legalize and prohibit. To legislate, to say what was correct to believe in, what was not correct to believe in. As Imam Muhammad al-Wahhabi said in his book, Kitab al-Tawheed, he said, Babu ma ja'a, anna sababa kufri bani Adam, wa turkihim dinahum, al-ghulu fi salihin. He said, the chapter clarifying that the reason why the sons of Adam went astray and disbelieved was because of their what? Going overboard, exaggerating in their praise of the righteous. Raising to levels of what? Divine beings who could what? Say what was right, what was wrong, what they should believe, what they shouldn't believe, what they could do, what they couldn't do, etc. So the Muslim needs to do what? Get all these intermediaries out of the way, right? And he needs to take his creed directly from what? From the source, from Allah and His Messenger. Make sense?
Makes sense.
All right. طيب. تفضلي.
No, it was just real quick. I was just thinking, I have some friends from Senegal, and they have, I think, a Sheikh Amadou Bamba on a picture on the wall. That's what you're talking about, that, right?
If they make him an intermediary who they take everything he says like it's what? Like it's divine revelation. That's where the problem is.
Like how the Christians do Jesus.
Exactly. Or like they do their priests and monks. Yeah.
There is nothing wrong to have a sheikh to teach you.
To teach you, yeah.
To explain things to you, but does not mean everything he's saying. Even you have to know what's the evidence from where he got it. Okay, don't think that you can jump to the Quran yourself or to the Hadith, understand it. So the necessity of the sheikh is there, but you do not look to him to be anything he's saying is divine, and even if it's against what in the book. So he's not saying that to remove this kind of mediation as a teacher to help you to understand the deen, but do not exaggerate in them and put them in a level that whatever they say to you, you don't care anymore about what's in the Quran and the Hadith. The Sheikh said this is like Ahmed Bamboo.
Subhanallah. Kalam tayyib. So basically we strike a balance. The Sheikh made a good point and brought some good clarity. That basically if you look in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. It says, ask the people who know if you don't know. So it's important for the people who don't know to ask the people who know and learn. The Prophet in the Hadith, he said, إِنَّمَا الْعِلْمُ بِالتَّعَلُّمِ. He said, knowledge is only by what? By studying. Studying from who? From the people who what? Have studied, who learned. So basically, that aspect is there in the deen. But in addition to that, كُلٌّ يُخَذْ مِنْ قَوْلِهِ وَيُرَدْ إِلَّا صَاحِبَ هَذَا الْقَبْرِ. So basically, everyone's statement can be taken or rejected except what? The companion of this grave. And he pointed to the grave of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So basically, what that means is that whoever it is, they're human, and they can what? Make mistakes. They can err, just like humans are prone to do, susceptible to do. So that being the case, we don't just take whatever the person says as if it's like divine revelation, because it's not. Like
somebody used to teach the people in America that a woman doesn't need hijab because her hair is her headpiece or her cover.
Subhanallah.
And they kept with this teaching, you understand, for centuries, you understand, until now some people could not. Okay, they believe in Islam, but he say the Imam said, you understand?
Allah
This is
understand.
worse than Ahmed Bambo.
Allah understand. Wa alaykum. All right. So now the last one that they mentioned, it says, last but not least, it is the best way to get close to Allah and gain His pleasure. And this is important. It says, last but not least, it is the best way. The best way to get close to Allah and gain His pleasure is what? Is the creed. The best way to get close to Allah and gain His pleasure is what? Is the creed. And that's because the creed... You guys done, or?
Oh, yes, sir, I apologize.
Okay. All right. So the creed, the reason why the compiler says this is because the creed is awjab al-wajibat. It is the most obligatory of the obligations. And the obligations in general are the best way to get close to who? Allah. Doing what Allah obligated upon you is the best way to get close to Him. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Qudsi hadith, He says, وَمَا يَتَقَرَّبُ إِلَيَّ عَبْدِي بِشَيْءٍ أَحَبَّ إِلَيَّ إِلَّا مَا افْتَرَضْتُ عَلَيْهِ. He says, and my slave does not draw closer to me with anything more beloved to me than those things I have obligated upon him. I've made obligatory. And the most obligatory thing is what? Is the creed. So these are like 10 points that tell you that this creed is what? Is important. Its importance is paramount. And this is enough to make the Muslim want to do what? Keep turning the pages and learn his creed. Learn his creed. If you don't learn anything else in life, learn your creed. Because creed is going to save you. It's going to save your neck. And creed is going to give you the faith, which is going to make you what? Do the righteous deeds, which are going to save your neck. But if you don't have faith, and your deen is just like makeup, then as soon as there's a musibah, as soon as there's some difficulty, it's just like a strong rain. What's going to happen to that makeup? It's going to get washed off. But if that faith comes from what? From the inside, and then pierces out, it's rooted in the heart, then it's not going to be what? Easily shaken. It's not going to be easily shaken. So this is why the Prophet ﷺ cultivated this and built this and spent a lot of time focusing on this. Because that's how you build Iman. From the inside out, not from the outside in. I think we'll stop there. Although I did want to touch on definition of faith, we'll stop there because we've taken a lot and we have to deal with the issue of interest.
No, sir, I understand.
Well, you talked about interest in general, so I think we need to basically clarify that basically the hadith was talking about a specific type of interest. Or it mentioned, it mentioned a specific type of interest. Okay? But interest in general is prohibited. What is interest? Interest in the language of the Arabs is a ziyada. It's increase. Okay? That's what interest means in the language of the Arabs. But interest in the language of Islam is basically kullu qardin jalaba naf'an. It is every type of debt, every type of loan, every type of loan which procures some type of profit.
So like bonds, stocks and bonds.
It doesn't have to be stocks and bonds. It could be,
Gambling.
hey brother, I'm a little short this month. Could you loan me $100? Yeah, I got you. But at the end of the month, you have to give me $120.
Oh yeah.
That's a loan that brought what? Procured some type of what? Profit.
Yeah.
Might not be monetary profit. I say, okay, I'll loan you the $100, but you have to let me use your car on the weekends to do some work that I have to do.
Yeah.
So now this is a naf'a. This is a benefit. That's why they didn't say jalaba ribhan. They said jalaba naf'an. Because some people, they won't make the profit monetary. They'll make the profit, hey, let me flop in your house for like a week. Okay? So they'll make, you got to give me the $100 back, but in addition to that, I got to take some what? Some benefit. I got to get something on top of it. So that ziyada, that increase, is what? Is riba. It's interest. Okay? Now, the people in the Prophet's time, they used to actively engage in what? In interest. In interest. Their trade involved what? Interest. Some type of ziyada. Okay? There was always some type of ziyada. To the point that they thought that trade and interest were synonymous. Okay? So when they were told that, interest is haram, they would say interest is what? It's trade. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, what's the beginning of the ayah? Qabl, what's the beginning of it though? What's the beginning of it? Al-bay'u mithlu riba. Qabl, what's before that? Qabl. The beginning of it is inna alladhina yakulun riba لا يقومون إلا كما يقوم الشيطان إلا كما يقوم الذي Okay, لحظة شوي الذين يأكلون الربا لا يقومون إلا كما يقوم الذي يتخبط من المس ذلك بأنهم قالوا إنما البيع مثل الربا. That's because they say trade is like interest. They're the same thing. But Allah comes back and says, وَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ. Allah has permitted trade. وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَى. And He has outlawed interest. Okay, so now this is a nas from Allah that interest is what? Outlawed, which means every qard, every loan, jalaba naf'an, which procures some type of benefit, could be monetary profit, or some other type of benefit, is what? Haram. وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَى. And He prohibited riba. Then He didn't stop there. He ordered the believers to leave it. Leave interest. Okay? So He said, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَذَرُوا مَا بَقِيَ مِنَ الرِّبَى إِن كُنتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. He says, "O you who believe, fear Allah and leave whatever remains of interest. Whatever is owed to you of interest, whatever dealings you have with interest, leave it. In kuntum mu'minin. If you truly believe." Allaqahu bi'ayyi shay? Bil iman. He connected the following of this command with what? Faith. If you really believe, this is how you'll conduct yourself. Then He said, He didn't even stop there. After that He said, فَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا فَأْذَنُوا بِحَرْبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. He says, and if you don't do that, if you don't stop, if you don't give up this interest, then take notice, or basically be aware that you have basically initiated a war with Allah and His Messenger. So these are texts from the Quran itself. Not to mention the text from the Sunnah, which indicate that dealing in interest, whether you're taking it or giving it, is what? Is prohibited. It's absolutely prohibited. Then on top of this, what people say is, they'll say, well, what about darura? Hadha darura. What if it's a necessity, brother? What if you're put in a situation where it becomes really, really difficult and you have to take it? You're forced to take it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even addressed that in the same series of ayat. He said, toward the end of the page, He says, فَمَنْ كَانَ ذُو أُسْرَةٍ فَنَظِرَةٌ إِلَى مَيْسَرَةٍ وَأَنْ تُصَدِّقُوا خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ إِن كُنتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. صح?
But I understand the simple answer because I'm not. You understand? Within the South, I keep reminding you. Within the South, so
simple answer. Okay.
Basically, I'm trying to understand. This is the car that I'm making payment on it.
Okay, I got you.
I don't use it.
Okay,
I do something haram.
All right, khalas. Okay, so let me do the ayah and I'll deal with that. So basically, it says, فَإِنْ كَانَ ذَا أُسْرَةٍ فَنَظِرَةٌ إِلَى مَيْسَرَةٍ. So if you notice in this ayah, He said if he was a person who had what? He was like in a real difficult situation and circumstance. Really in need. Difficult circumstances. Allah didn't say that, okay, for him, he can do what? He can do interest. He said, فَنَظِرَةٌ إِلَى مَيْسَرَةٍ. He basically told the person who had the loan, or gave him the loan, to what? To figure out how he could make what? His matter easy. Other places in the Quran, when Allah talks about situations, circumstances we find ourselves in, difficult situations, He allows us to what? He makes a concession. So He tells us that, for example, you can't eat swine, you can't drink wine, but then He says, فَمَنْ تُرَّ. Right? So whoever is forced, غَيْرَ بَاغٍ وَلَا عَادٍ فَلَا إِثْمَ عَلَيْهِ. So if he's not forced, doesn't want to do it, doesn't transgress the bounds, there's no sin upon him. But when it came to interest, even in the case of darura, He didn't permit it. But He said what? Find an alternative method, but don't take interest. I just want to make that point. So now the Sheikh, he said, okay, let's just cut to the chase. If a person has a car, they buy it with interest. They're paying interest on it. Is it halal or haram? I think the answer is clear from the ayat. وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَى. He prohibited what? Interest, which means what? He prohibited not just taking it, but also giving it. Person has a checking account in the bank. Checking account that procures interest, or a savings account which procures interest. He's getting interest. He's eating interest. It would be what? Haram. وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَى. And if you notice, he said ar-riba, literally the interest. The interest. This al is what they call in al-fadl al-umum. It's one of the words that indicates what? Generality and all-inclusiveness. He prohibited what? Each and every type of riba. Okay, so you could say that this alif lam is what they call the alif lam of istighraq, al-istighraq al-jins. All of it. It's the al that has the same meaning as kullu. All of it. Every type of it. So whatever it is, house, car, savings account, procuring interest, credit card which has interest on it, all these are what? Prohibited. What I'll do better, I'll do you one better. Okay, I'm gonna give you some scenarios. You tell me. I'll give you scenarios. Brother wants to buy a home. Okay, doesn't have the capital. Home's $150,000. He has $25,000. Wants to buy the home. He can pay $25,000 down to the bank, and they'll give him a home loan at 7.5% annual 7.5 annual percentage rate. Okay, a really good interest rate. Can he do it?
No.
Why not?
Because it's interest.
Because interest and all interest
It's haram.
is haram. طيب. All right, they got these good deals down at the dealership because it's tax season. Everybody's getting their tax refund and using it as a down payment on a car. And I want to get a brand new 2016 Camry, and they got them on sale, and this, that, and the other, and they tell me they're going to give me a really good deal. They're going to give it to me for 3.9 APR. Can I get it?
No.
Why not?
It's
It's interest, and all interest is
haram.
haram. So you got it. You understood. How's the shit?
Okay, what if I got a business and I'm buying some clothes for wholesale,
Mhm.
and I'm putting them in the store, and you
Uh-huh.
know what I'm saying, like how people do business, like they
Yeah.
put like clothes and shoes in the store. I'm just like an example I'm making, like.
Hey,
That's
when you
okay.
bought them, did you buy them with cash?
I mean, if I buy them, yeah, I'm just.
You
yeah,
bought-
Okay,
you
yeah,
bought-
we're gonna say yeah.
Okay, you bought all these clothes to sell them.
Yeah.
When you bought the clothes, did you buy them with cash?
Yeah, we're gonna say we.
Okay, you bought it with cash. Okay,
I'm just giving.
it was 10. I'm saying, give you examples. So $10,000 in clothes. I bought it in cash. Brought it to my store, and I'm going to sell it for a profit. Is that haram or halal? Halal, because it's bay'ah.
Oh.
It's bay'ah. That's bay'ah. There's no interest involved. I bought it with cash.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no interest involved.
Yeah.
تفضل.
Oh.
So let's say you trade with somebody, but you have a better deal, and they have the worst deal, and you trade with them.
Mhm.
But that's allowed.
You trade with them in the sense that you have.
It's a better deal.
Okay, so you have a really nice coat that's worth, you have a coat that's worth $100. They have a coat worth $1,000. They say, hey, I like that coat. Let's trade. And you're saying, would that be halal or haram?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking. I defer. $100 coat, $1,000 coat. He likes my coat. I like his coat.
Hey,
We trade.
You ready?
Mumtaz. All right, so you got your answer, right? If he wants,
That's
if he,
number 23.
if he wants your $100 coat and you want his $1,000 coat, well, who yarda? He's pleased that this one, yeah, this is not the same value, but I'm pleased with, this trade.
It's a trade.
He's pleased. You're not coercing him. You're not saying, look, I'm gonna take you out in the parking lot. I'm gonna twist your arm into the brakes unless you give me your coat. No, he saw your coat. He liked it. You liked his. You traded. Okay, Mumtaz.
Okay, brother, I'm sorry. I just
Uh-huh.
have one quick question. It's
Sure.
not about the.
No, you can call me brother. He's the Sheikh. He's the Sheikh. I'm nothing. You can call me nothing, al-Ansari. Tafadali.
Brother, I'm sorry. No, I have a serious question that myself and some sisters have been talking about here recently.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I know in the Quran it says that a Muslim woman can only marry a Muslim man. Totally understand.
Mumtaz.
Okay.
I'm glad you understand that.
Well, wait a minute, brother. Okay, wait, shake hands. Wait. All right, and I know it says that Allah's earth is spacious. If you need to move, you can move.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now for the sisters that are not married. Yes, sister, I'm about to ask this.
Uh-huh.
Okay, for the sisters that are not married,
Mhm.
we don't have the money to move all around the United States
Uh-huh.
to find a husband.
Okay.
Okay, that's number one. And number two, Colombia is small, and if there's no available Muslim brothers to marry, especially when you start getting up in your 40s, then are we allowed, now don't nobody throw no rocks or nothing,
Mhm.
are we allowed to bring someone into the mosque that does not have any belief system, they're not Christian, they're not Muslim, they don't have any belief, to have them come and study
Uh-huh.
to become Muslims so that you can marry them, or we just have to, we don't
I
want to
mean,
get old and decrepit,
if the-
waiting on the husband.
Is in the right place and they're doing it like to be a Muslim just because they want to.
Bam, see, there we
And
go.
they're not being forced.
I mean,
For instance, a brother, put
Okay,
it
one
from the
question,
outside,
one
is
needs
attracted
three
to us.
examples.
Yes.
But we told them that they have to be Muslim in order to marry. And however, they are willing, but they need to come in and study and learn.
Uh-huh.
Can we go ahead and get married to them when they take
If
Shahada?
No, but wait, let me finish, wait, brother, I'm sorry, and shake hands and get to the floor. But listen, if they don't have any belief and say that they feel like all religions are, yeah, but, and they're not really.
Walk away.
But they believe in Allah, but they're not Muslim, I mean, and
They believe in love.
I don't know, it's not coming out right anymore, but anyway, can we marry a non-Muslim even though they cannot change our deen, because I know the men are supposed to be head of household, nobody could ever make me become non-Muslim, that's just not gonna happen.
No, they're willing to take
But,
Shahada
yeah, I mean, but,
to marry.
see, you can't. What I'll say is this.
They willing to
What
take it
I'll say is
for
this.
you,
That
they doing it
Is
out the
that-
heart. That's the thing.
it just seems to me. It seems because only Allah knows the hearts. It seems that the person who, if that's the deal, quote unquote, he's accepting the deen to get married. He's not accepting the deen to please Allah. Okay, and you have to understand that we talk about the concept of riya, showing off. Okay. When is showing off major shirk? The asl, the original rule is that riya, showing off, ostentation, doing something to please others. We talk about this in general as being shirk asghar. I worship Allah. I stand to pray. I make salat for Allah. I make salat to Allah. But I make it for what? The pleasure of the people. So they'll say, oh, look how he prays. Look how he concentrates. Look how he focuses. When you do that, in general, it's what? Minor shirk. The deed won't be accepted, but it doesn't take you out of the fold of Islam. But there's one instance where it's major shirk, and you will be a non-Muslim. And that's when you accept Islam mura'iyan. When you accept Islam to please what? Others. When you accept Islam, you have to do it for who? Allah. Jalla Jalaluhu Azam Sultanu. So this is the thing, is that what I would be afraid of is that would be a farce Islam. That would be a ruse. I just want to be with this Muslim woman, and so I accept Islam. So the person needs to come to Islam because he wants to be Muslim. He needs to come to Islam because he wants to be Muslim, not because of some
Rearrange.
yeah, exactly. Some basic hidden agenda that he has that's basically motivating him to what? To say some words and go through a ritual and go through the motions. So he needs to come on his own. He needs to accept Islam. And if he does that, then yeah, all bets are on. But if he comes because, hey, you're fine, and I was just thinking, I was just thinking that, you know, if you want me to be Muslim, I'll be Muslim. I'll be whatever you want me to be.
Whatever.
Right? If he says that, then you don't need to really fool with that. I'm gonna be honest with you.
But the bottom line was, after information, that yes, we can bring non-Muslims, okay, to the mosque, that we can
To
give
learn,
them
yeah.
da'wah, he or she, and they can come again and again, give them books, okay? But if there is a hidden agenda, I'm not responsible about it, okay? But yes, the person can come regardless whatever they believe, learn about it. So we have to distinguish between the two things. And he may understand take shahada really
And be sincere.
sincerely,
yeah.
but after he take it, he may see the other sister sitting to your right or to your left, and change his mind. Okay?
Yeah, that's true
I
too.
want to take the one
That's true too.
with the red head piece, an example, not the green one. Okay?
But I will say what he said is a good point. I'm glad he clarified. You've been doing a good job today. You've been doing a good job.
That was a good example, right?
You've been doing a good job. So basically, I'm not saying that if somebody's interested in coming to the mosque, don't let them come to the mosque. I'm just saying don't make that predicated. Don't make marriage predicated on him coming to the mosque. You follow what I'm saying? So yeah, you want to come to the mosque, tafadhal, yeah. The doors are always open. But don't come to the mosque and read a couple times or sit in a couple classes, yeah, I want to be Muslim, and you know, thinking that you're going to get married. Take that off the table. Marriage has nothing to do with this. You want to come to the masjid, tafadhal. Come on. Here's the address. You know, there's a class after Maghrib on Tuesdays. You know, there'll be a Sheikh there. He can teach you whatever you need to know about the deen. Yeah, but don't take marriage out of the equation. Don't let him come thinking that, yeah, I'm going to get something. And then if he comes on his own, and you've already told him that marriage is off the table, if he comes on his own sincerely and accepts Islam, that's a different deal. Now all bets are on. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Especially if the sister made it clear that there's not too much going in Colombia, and so we're going to import one from outside.
But let me ask you this question: Why can't? There's nothing going on in Colombia, but why can't sisters reach out to North Carolina, Georgia, neighboring states?
We've done that too, and everybody there's married.
Sister,
I didn't say travel. You can.
Everybody there is
You
married.
can. You can call the masajid.
Everybody in here.
sister, you never asked me, as example, how long you been knowing me?
Yeah.
You mean for if I know somebody and not me?
Like all the United States and Egypt. The man's connected. Yes.
Yeah, I'm just saying that I think you just have to broaden your scope, broaden your scope, and
Plus, I think it's important to point out, and please forgive me for.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, sister. But the sister Lynn also, she's the head of the committee outreach of the community, and she have a connections almost every North Carolina, South Carolina, Baltimore, Sudan. What's the other place? She's sister outreach, jobs, husbands, adopting kids.
To each other.
So give your resume to the sister. She'll get you somebody.
But I do want to point out.
Yes, sister. Go ahead.
That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us an answer to this problem. There's always been more women than men. You need to open your eyes and your heart to polygyny. Because it's there.
Oh, I've done polygamy, I don't care about
Polygyny.
polygamy.
What did you say, sister?
she said she done it. She don't care about it.
She what?
Polygyny.
Been there, done that.
I don't know.
When you give her your resume, she will do a good job.
Yeah.
Oh, what you shaking your head for? No?
No, I didn't say anything about that. That didn't have nothing to do with that. I was just saying that I'm just saying it's a predicament. I mean, it's a predicament. I'm just kind of like sympathizing, empathizing. It's a predicament. It's a predicament.
Because
fixable within our community if we work together.
It's a predicament. Are there any good men out there, Sheikh Adly?
That's not married?
Are there any good men out there?
That's not married?
Huh?
That's not
I
married?
wish I were a good man. I'm nothing. I'm just pathetic. But are there any good men out there?
I know 4 brothers sitting here, they ready, but they don't have a, so they have to find a sister that she believe in God and bring her for down, and after this.
Really? 4 of them. 4 good brothers. 4 good brothers. 4 good brothers. Whoa. And I'm done.
Just walk out.
I'm going to drop the mic on that one.
Number 1.
Oh, stop it, Allah. Now I'm really going to drop the mic.
Okay.
All right, so inshallah ta'ala we'll meet again.
There is other sister, a new sister, that have a question. We
Who?
did not finish.
Who has a question?
You forgot my question even. You forgot that we have a discussion.
No, I have to deal with that.
It's a private
I have to
discussion.
deal with that separately, yeah.
Okay.
Deal with that separately.
Let's see. Oh, I forgot also Sister Muslim is here tonight. Thank you for being here.
So who had a question?
It's too bad.
Was there another question?
I didn't have a question. I thought I had a question, but I didn't.
No.
Basically, the brothers want younger women that can have a bunch of babies.
No, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true.
Please listen, let her say. Bring it out, sister. Go ahead. Say it.
Go ahead.
Say it.
Okay, we should, and I'm gonna be honest, a lot of these brothers are looking for women who are able to have children. A lot of us are past childbearing years, and you know what I'm saying? So I wasn't trying to be funny when I
No,
posed
sister,
the
go,
question.
say serious. Speak
But
up.
most of the brothers here in
Speak
this
up.
mosque, they're married, have children, and happily married. So, you know, you don't want to be trying to get no polygamy marriage and stressing people out and all that. You know what I'm saying?
No, they either want young, skinny mini,
Yeah.
little,
I'm not skinny mini.
someone who is gonna support.
I don't think I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this. One of the most dangerous things you can do. One of the most dangerous things you can do is generalize, essentialize. You got to take every individual as an individual. Not every man wants a bunch of children. Not every man wants a woman who's young.
Yeah, exactly.
Not every man wants a woman who's, like a model.
Exactly.
Doesn't necessarily mean that. A lot of men, they just want a good woman.
Okay.
And they're afraid of a house with no peace. Afraid of being in a marriage where you don't want to come home. You don't want to come home. You leave work and you go find something to do until you think that they're asleep. Nobody wants to live like that. And I'm going to be honest with you. Generally speaking, I think if a woman can demonstrate that she's about being a good Muslim wife, that the beauty on the inside is going to eclipse whatever issues there are on the outside. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak nabi Muhammad.
That's real.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Brother Abdullah, Sister Lynn want to talk to you before you leave. Sister Lynn, Abdullah, come for a second.
I think they do put on music after though.
This is Sister Lynn.
He uploads it live on audio. So like in a day or two,
Yes.
Come on out here.
Okay, sister. Thank you for being here tonight.
Yes, sir.
Keep the good work, sister.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You know who that is at home? You should know her.